Yes, well, good morning, everybody. Thank you very much for everyone who's tuning in, and thank you very much as well for everyone who's been getting in touch. It's fair to say that I think the nation's collective temperature, if you'll excuse the kind of COVID pun, is definitely rising, actually, because there's a lot of very polarised people, certainly in my inbox, and I don't know about you, but when I'm out and about, as much as I can be these days, I am seeing a lot of people who I think are very, very close to the edge, and I can understand that, really, because we're living in very, very strange times. But this morning, what we're asking is Boris Johnson, our Prime Minister, finished? Now, from the lobbying scandal resulting in a shock by-election victory, of course, for the Lib Dems, of the renovation of the apartment at Downing Street, these pictures that we're seeing or whatever of Christmas parties or business meetings, all of that stuff. I just want to know how you feel and how the nation feels about where Boris Johnson is at. There's undoubtedly a load of people who are like, hey, this guy got Brexit done, he's got the impossible job, people need to back off. There's other people who are saying, hang on a minute, maybe we should call for a little bit of certainty. Well, we thought, didn't we, that we'd try and get a Tory perspective to see whether or not they feel that Boris Johnson is finished. We've gone for someone who's towards the right of traditionally what you would class as a Conservative. And then we've also gone for a Labour Party perspective as well. So who have we got on?
Yes, we've got former Labour MP for Ealing North, Stephen Pound, and pleased to be joined as well by Ben Harris-Quinney, who's chairman of the world's oldest Conservative think tank, the Bow Group. So thank you both for joining us this morning. So obviously the question we're asking there is Boris finished? And we'd love to get your views from, as we said there, two political sides. So if we can start with you, Stephen Pound, what do you think? Is Boris finished?
Well, you may not be utterly amazed to hear from me that I think he probably is. But let me just explain why. All politicians want to be cheered and they can kind of endure being feared, but what they cannot cope with is being jeered. And we're now at the stage where at the darts, at the football, the very people that Boris Johnson was supposed to reach out and tickle the tummies of, they are now jeering him and chanting Boris is a what's name. Now, I was there in 1996-97 when the stench of decay over the Conservative Party was so foul and clogging the nostrils that you knew that they were done for. I was there when my lot, were in terrible trouble in 2008, 2009, and we knew that all we could do was sit and wait for the Etonians to come over the hill. I was there when Theresa May was about to call it a day. Now, the reality is that same sense of putrefaction, that same feeling of decay, that sort of fin de siècle, as the French would say, that is what we've got today. Boris Johnson is on the glide path. He was only tolerated by the Conservative Party, despite the fact he's demonstrably not a Conservative. He was only tolerated because he was perceived as a winner. He is now a figure of fun, being jeered on the terraces at the Emirates. Well, you can't come back from that.
Well, to be fair, most people who go to the Emirates live in Islington, and we think we know which way they vote anyway, don't we? I'm surprised they could slate Boris because they're normally too busy shoving olives and hummus into their mouth as they watch their bang average football team. However, Ben Harris-Quinney.
Have you been to the Arsenal lately?
Well, I only said that I'm a Manchester United fan, so I can't really talk at the moment, can I? Ben
Harris-Quinney, you whip it when you're out.
All right. Ben Harris-Quinney, we're going to go see you now, chairman of the world's oldest Conservative think tank, the Bow Group. Look, where are you on this? Is Boris Johnson finished? Because a load of people are saying no, and we need to just stop the notion that he is.
Well, first off, I'm an Arsenal fan, but we haven't got time to get to that.
Yes.
My lot lost last night to Sheffield United.
I think he has lost moral authority. You know, the statement yesterday, you saw the picture that came out showing a wine and cheese gathering in the Downing Street back garden. The defence was put up that it was a working meeting. Then the question was asked, as we have regularly asked, what was Carrie Johnson doing there? And it was said that it was her garden and she happened to have walked by. And I think, you know, all of these explanations and the attempt at cover up, I think it makes the whole thing look like a farce. And what that does is it removes the Prime Minister's moral authority when it comes to bringing in the lockdown measures, the vaccine passports, these things that are being debated and are being pushed through in Parliament. And I think that's very serious because it means that the government isn't able to act. The public are left in this uncertain position over Christmas. You know, is Christmas going to go ahead? Is New Year going to go ahead? The hospitality industry is left asking those same questions, and so that moral authority has gone because of that farce in number 10 that you know we in the Bow Group have been talking about for a long time. The problem is what we've also been talking about is the fact that you've had a succession of Conservative leaders that have promised to be Conservative and then have been revealed not to be, and we've warned about that as well. So I don't think there's going to be a situation where Boris is suddenly swept out and replaced because there is no obvious candidate to replace him. When people talk about Rishi Sunak and Liz Truss, I don't think that's going to work. I don't think the Conservative Party can wear another fake Conservative leader. I think it has to have a real deep debate about how it's structured, how it's organised, the democracy within it, and the next leader that comes along really needs to be the genuine article. I don't see that in the wings at the moment, and that's why I don't think that there will be a leadership challenge to Boris Johnson, because there is no obvious candidate to take over from him. So whilst I agree that he has completely lost moral authority, particularly to deal with the pressing issue of coronavirus, I think he'll stay. I think he will limp on. And ultimately, you know, that's bad news for the country. But I do believe that will be how things play out.
And Stephen, let me just put to you, we're talking of leadership. The leader of the Labour Party, obviously, is Sir Keir Starmer. He doesn't seem necessarily like somebody who is acting like the leader of the opposition, Her Majesty's, you know, most loyal opposition.
Well, he didn't want a Her Majesty for a while, did he?
Well, exactly. So he's not exactly the man either, is he? Obviously, you don't, you know, wouldn't vote for Boris Johnson, but most people wouldn't want to vote for Keir Starmer either.
Well, I have to say, I tend to disagree. I think after flamboyance, you very often get. I know I hate to be so predictable about it, but look, after flamboyance, you sometimes get sobriety and good sense. I mean, the obvious classic example everybody comes up with is, you know, Clement Attlee, one of those boring men who ever walked God's green earth, following the flamboyant Winston Churchill. You know, we've had the same thing with Joe Biden following Trump, who is pretty damn flamboyant himself. And I think that Keir Starmer has actually been playing a very, very good game. He's been forensic, as we all know, that word that keeps coming up, but he's been attacking constructively. You can't just criticise and carp for the sake of it. You cannot just whinge on and say, oh, we don't like this, we don't like that. You've got to come up with constructive points. And he's been constructive over and over again about funding the health service to deal with the incoming cancer pandemic that we've got, on the border patrol issue, on furlough, which after all, you know, it's the Labour Party that started talking about protecting small businesses. I think that he represents a steady, stable, secure, sensible, sober stand, which is a marvellous contrast, I have to say. Look, I think the Tories will also pick up on this. And the person that, you know, obviously the Labour Party, we would love to see Michael Gove taking over. We'd love that. But the person we fear, and I probably shouldn't say this, but the person we fear is actually Jeremy Hunt, who has many of the qualities of Keir Starmer.
Yeah, well, potentially. Okay, Ben, I'll just throw over to you because I thought Stephen made an interesting point. And by the way, I've absolutely copped it in the inbox today from start to finish. It's one of my certainly I'm not doing particularly well with our viewers today. It's fair to say, but I did make a point early on about the fact that the football and the darts crowds turning against Boris. The point that I was trying to make there was not that I want a load of drunken people running our country. It was the idea that I suspect that quite a few of those people, maybe not at the Emirates, voted for Boris Johnson, and that actually these are the kind of people that really should be bringing with him. And if they're there chanting that on national television, it's an indication that he's lost the dressing room, isn't it? And in that sense, Ben, are you concerned that he's finished?
Well, can I just say, sorry,
all the football analogies, but yeah, there are many indicators. The polls, the Labour Party are now sort of 7-8% ahead in a lot of the polls. We had the North Shropshire by-election, which was just an absolutely extraordinary result. So there are all sorts of indicators that Boris Johnson has lost the faith of the public and lost that moral authority. But you know, Stephen's an experienced political operator. He knows as well as I do that Labour ain't getting in anytime soon. You know, at a maximum, we're talking about 2024. If the polls stay where they are now, the Conservative Party will kick the can down the road, and it won't be till 2024 there'll be a general election. And even then, to overturn an 80-seat majority is a very, very difficult thing to do. So I think we're likely to be back into hung parliament territory or small Conservative majorities. Either way, we're a long way off discussing the Labour Party coming into power. The question, therefore, is there anyone that's going to challenge Boris Johnson from within the Conservative Party? And you've got the parliamentary party, but you've also got the membership base. And you mentioned that I am a right-wing figure in Conservative circles. The membership of the Conservative Party make me look far left, I can tell you that. And they do not want to see another David Cameron, Theresa May, Boris Johnson, Jeremy Hunt, or Rishi Sunak. That card has been played and recycled time and time again, of these people popping up, claiming to be Conservatives, and then a few years later, we find out that they're not, everyone gets buyer's remorse about voting for them. We warned about Boris Johnson, we warned about Theresa May in the same way, and I just don't see the party saying, "Oh yes, Jeremy Hunt's the guy that's going to take us beyond the liberal metropolitan elite that we voted to get rid of in the Brexit referendum."
Good
so I don't
All
see that change coming in the way that Stephen does.
OK, look, both of you, thank you very, very much. I thought it was a really nuanced discussion. I really appreciate it, actually, in these crazy times. Nice to have a conversation a bit like that. MP for Ealing North, Stephen Pound and Ben Harris-Quinney. And I apologise, by the way, for insulting your football team and by definition.
Yeah, come on the Arsenal.
Absolutely. Of course, the chairman of the world's oldest Conservative think tank. The Bow Group, thank you very much, both of you. Fantastic stuff. Have a great Christmas if I don't see you before.
Yes, indeed. Well, after the break, we'll be heading